Where were you actually born?
I grew up in a rural community outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and I came to Chicago in 1967 when I married my husband. My husband had been a long-term member of this church. In fact, he was baptized here. His family lived in Woodlawn, then lived in Chatham, and then moved to Hyde Park. He went to Hyde Park High School. Uh, we met down at the University of Illinois, where I was getting a master's in library science, and he was finishing a doctorate in education. And I've lived in Hyde Park since then. My daughters went to Ray School and Kenwood Academy, and then they went off to college and now live in the suburbs. Uh, but I took over the job as archivist of the church, and this congregation has had a long, long history. Uh, they started in Fort Dearborn in 1833 when there were less than about 250 people in Chicago. And they moved around, kept moving farther south. And in 1926, they merged with a congregation called Woodlawn Park that had their building on the corner of 64th and Kimbark. Okay, well, when I first came in 1967, there were 3 and 6 flats located all the way down the block. There were apartment buildings on all of the vacant land. And one of the first times I visited was right after the police raid on the church. So I didn't see the beginnings. I didn't see the beginnings of the Blackstone Ranger involvement in this community. Saw the really painful part for the congregation because there were many very serious charges laid against our pastor. He, I think, was probably the most Christian person I've ever met, but he could also be very provocative in the kind of statements he made. So he was dragged before the Congressional Investigations Committee to discuss the economic development grant that was given to TWO. But they had a good time mocking him. It was actually a TWO grant, but you probably know we have a gym up on the 3rd floor. And what had happened was it started off that the boys club rented the space, trying to do some gang mediation. And they discontinued that relationship, but of course the kids were here. So we tried many things, including providing legal help for some of the guys, hoping that we could turn them around. We know now that that didn't all work. We probably peeled off some people to better. When I started attending here, we had after-school tutoring and the Head Start program. First Church had one of the first Head Start programs in the city of Chicago. Again, we were in trouble with the city in that Mary Lou Todd, who was a Woodlawn resident, who was really behind the start of the Head Start programs, went directly to Washington when she heard that there was going to be money for preschool in disadvantaged areas. So we have off on the wrong foot there because we were not the preferred place to be. But we had, so when I was here in '67, we already had the Head Start program. We ran that until 2007. And by that point, it was very expensive to run it, and we just did not have the resources to support it beyond the federal funding. So when I came in '67, we were working with the Rangers, and one of the things, and I can't think of his first name, Mr. Brown, who's a fairly famous entertainer, did a program with the Rangers, and we had a musical performance in the sanctuary. And my mind is blanking on what it was called. Opportunity Knocks.